Hey, what's up everybody? This is Easy Speeds and Feeds. Today is our third video in our how to machine thin parts. So let's get started. So here's our part that we want to machine, 20 thou thick. It's rectangular. So there's our piece of stock. There's the part. And what we did in our past two videos is make a fixture that this piece of stock fits on. And then we added a cap that goes over it. And also some quarter 20 holes so we can bolt the clamp down on the piece of stock to hold it into place. So we'll show that here in a second. So there's our cap, and our stock is under it, and it sits on that fixture. It's kind of a slip fit on the bottom fixture, the piece of stock, and that cap fits over it. We pin it down, and then we can touch off this cap and just use that as our work coordinate system. So that's what we did in our last two videos. This video, we actually want to machine this part and show it what we're going to do. So there's our work coordinate system right in the middle of the fixture. So you don't really have to touch off the cap. If you make the work coordinate system of your fixture right in the middle, then all you have to do is mess with your Z and your offset. So looks like we will be doing the contouring first. We're just going to go right around this part. So we're going to select all these wireframe lines and create a tool path that just wraps around this part, just in case that piece of stock isn't as square as we think it is. So we go to Tool, select Library Tool, we go to Filter. We want to find something small because this is only 20 thou thick, so no big tools that could possibly tear this material too much. Okay, so we'll go 1/8 inch, Edit Tool, go Next, type in the tool number, type in the speed and feed, we'll go 15 inches a minute, 7,500 RPM, hit Finish. Cut parameters, we'll just do 2D. Linking, we want to select that bottom line right there, and we want to turn it to absolute, not incremental. They're all incremental just because of all of our stacked up solids, but we just want to turn it to absolute. So we click the top for our feed plane, and that's 0, which is correct, so we'll just put that at 0.1, so it's going to start feeding 100 thou above the cap. Depth cuts, we'll turn that on, and we don't want huge depth cuts because remember that part's only 20 thou thick, so we're going to go 25 thou. We don't want it to machine the cap and the part at the same time. We want the end mills to go through that thin part really easily. So multi-passes, we'll do one finish pass at 5 thou. So that looks good. Okay, it looks like it's just doing one go around. So depth cut, that looks good. So we're going to do our back plot, and it's not really doing what we want it to do. See, it's only doing one trip around the part at full depth, which is not correct because we want to machine this thing really light. So go back into parameters, top of the stock, when you select the top of the cap. So, okay, there we go. Our top of our stock parameter was set at the same height as our depth, which was incorrect. We changed it, and now it looks like it's taking those 25 thou depth cuts. So we want to go into verify. We want to check in verify also. And it did not work in verify this time, so now we have to fix this problem. Seems like our piece of stock is in the wrong position from that front view. So what we want to do is go back to stock setup, and we're using a solid mesh. We just clicked on that solid part we had, which is level 1. And now our stock origin, we want to raise that from minus 145 thou to 125 thou. So go to levels, and that changed the Z to the right spot, but our X and Y are now in the wrong spot. So what we need to do is find the center point of this part, create a piece of wireframe and select it. So go to line endpoints, point position, select the center, and we go to home, we go to analyze distance, we select our work coordinate 0 and that center point, and our X and Y were both at 0, so we know that's exactly where we want it. Now we can go back into stock setup, select the point, and click the check. So now the idea is to go back into verify, and it should do exactly what we want. We should see it cut the stock. So we go back into verify, we click play, and it still didn't do it. So what I'm starting to see here is our tool actually is not going deep enough. So we go into parameters, depth, we select the bottom of the stock, minus 145, but we'll go a little bit further, just so it cleans up. And this is why verify is probably the most powerful tool in Mastercam, is just you can always double check exactly what you're doing, especially when you're doing something complicated like this. We have all these fixtures and caps and whatnot. So there we go. That is exactly what we want. Taking light cuts, not doing it all at once, which could tear this really thin material. So we machine through the cap and then right into this part, which was what we want to do. So next, we want to drill some holes. We'll backplot it with the cap activated so you guys can see what it looks like. So our milling is done. Next thing, we measure those holes. They're 100 thou in diameter. So we need to spot drill the top of the cap and then drill through the cap and through the part. So we just select the holes where they are. Now we find a tool. go to spot drill, deselect tap, click the check. We will use a 1/8 inch. Go to edit tool, make that tool 2. We'll type in some speeds and feeds. We'll just use a random feed here. We'll just go 5 inches a minute and 7,500 RPM. Okay, that works. Now we go to cut, linking. The depth is actually, we'll select the top of the cap, which should be 0, and it is. We'll change that to minus 30 thou. So go 30 thou into the cap, which will leave a nice spot for our drill. Turn our coolant on. Hit the check. So let's backplot that, see how it looks. That looks good. So we can copy and paste that, go back into parameters, and we'll delete this tool. We'll go to select library tool, filter, turn off spot, select drill. Now those holes were 100 thou, so let's go find a drill size really close to that. We will go 101 thou. Number 38. We'll go peck drill. Go back into parameters. Edit this tool. Can't forget this part. Call it tool 3. Feed rate. Go 7, 7,500 RPM. Cut parameters. We're going 10 thou. So nothing too heavy, because when it engages with this part, we don't want anything bad to happen to this really thin part. We want it to just barely put that hole in and, be real light. So depth, change it to minus 200 thou. We copy and pasted the toolpath, so it should go to the exact same points as a spot drill. So there is our milling. There is our drilling. That looks really good. So we'll backplot it again with all the fixtures and caps on it so you guys can see. It's going to mill around the cap and then drill through the cap into the part. So this is what it looks like if the cap was not on it. So you got your piece of stock. It's slip fitted to this boss right here. And that's what all the toolpaths look like. Now we'll go into verify. Double check it'll actually work in the machine. There it is, 10 thou pecs through the cap and through the part. And you can tell it's just barely touching the part, which is really good. These thin parts, you don't want to stress them out too much. Otherwise, when you take that cap off, they'll it'll try to bend and twist on you. So light cuts and should be good. There's our video, and that wraps up our series on how to machine thin parts. You guys can subscribe for more videos like this, and we'll see you later. Thanks.